For millennia, the galaxy had been loud. The Voth screamed logic. Their broadcasts filled the void with equations and predictions and demands for order. They believed that the universe would bend to reason. They shouted their beliefs at anyone who would listen. The KRYLL screamed conquest. Their war cries echoed across star systems. They announced their strength with every transmission. They wanted the galaxy to know that they were coming. That resistance was useless. That surrender was the only option. The Xylos screamed knowledge. Their signals carried the weight of centuries. They broadcast their discoveries, their theories, their wisdom. They wanted the galaxy to know that they understood things that others did not, that they held the keys to mysteries, that they were the smartest species in existence. Every species announced itself with noise. Loud, demanding, terrifying. First contact was always a scream, a threat, a warning, a declaration of power. The galaxy had learned to expect this, to prepare for it, to scream back. Then the alien scouts found Earth. They had been searching for new worlds, new species, new sources of noise. Their senses swept across the galaxy, listening for signals. They expected to find the usual chaos. War cries, battle alarms, desperate pleas. Instead, they found something strange. Earth was quiet. No broadcasts, no challenges, no warnings, just silence. The scouts checked their equipment. It was working. They adjusted their senses. Nothing. They waited. Nothing. Earth was a quiet world in a screaming galaxy. The alien commander was confused. "What is wrong with this planet?" he asked. "Every species announces itself. Every world broadcasts its presence. Why is this one silent?" His officers had no answers. They had never encountered a world that did not scream. They had never imagined such a thing. "Perhaps they are hiding," one officer suggested. "Perhaps they are afraid." The commander shook his head. Hiding species still broadcast fear. Their signals are weak, but they are there. This planet has nothing. No fear. No threats. No warnings. Just silence. The scouts approached Earth. They expected resistance. They expected threats. They expected noise. They found none. The humans did not send warships to intercept them. They did not broadcast warnings to turn back. They did not scream. The commander was uneasy. "This is not normal," he said. "Something is wrong. Prepare for anything." The scouts entered Earth's atmosphere. They expected panic. They expected chaos. They expected the humans to scream. They found none. The humans went about their lives. Working. Playing. Loving. Laughing. They did not seem afraid. They did not seem threatened. They did not seem to care. The commander landed his ship in a field. He stepped out. He expected to be surrounded by soldiers, by weapons, by threats. He found none. A single human walked toward him. A woman, middle-aged, gray hair, kind eyes. She was not wearing a uniform. She was not carrying a weapon. She was just walking. Calmly, quietly. The commander raised his weapon. "Identify yourself," he demanded. The woman stopped. She looked at him. She did not flinch. She did not scream. She just waited. "I am Dr. Maya Chen," she said. "Welcome to Earth. We have been expecting you." The commander was confused. "Expecting us? How? You did not detect us. You have no senses, no defenses, no warnings." Maya smiled. "We detected you. We have senses. We have defenses. We have warnings. We just did not use them. We were waiting." The commander lowered his weapon. "Waiting for what?" Maya's eyes were kind. "For you to land. For you to speak. For you to ask. We did not want to scare you away. We wanted to meet you. To talk to you. To learn from you." The commander was stunned. He had never encountered a species that did not scream. That did not threaten. That did not demand. He had only ever known noise. War cries. Battle alarms. Desperate pleas. This was different. This was silence. And the silence was terrifying. "Why?" the commander asked. "Why did you not scream? Every species screams. It is the way of the galaxy." Maya shook her head. "It is your way. It is not our way. We have learned that screaming does not make you strong. It makes you loud. There is a difference. We prefer to listen. To wait. To ask. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to demand. We only want to understand." The commander was silent. He had never thought of silence as strength. He had never thought of listening as power. He had only ever known noise. The humans had shown him something new. The galaxy had been screaming for millennia. Wars, conquests, knowledge, noise. But Earth was quiet. A quiet world among screaming stars. The aliens did not understand. They could not understand. They had never encountered a species that did not scream. The news spread. Other species heard about the quiet world. They were curious. They sent their own scouts. They expected silence. They found questions. Who are you? What do you hope for? What do you fear? Would you like to talk? The aliens were confused. They had never been asked these things. They had only ever been screamed at. The galaxy began to change. Slowly, quietly. Species that had screamed for millennia began to listen. To wait. To ask. The noise faded. The silence grew. The humans had not screamed. They had not threatened. They had not demanded. They had simply been quiet. And that quiet had changed everything. The first contact happened in silence. Not because the humans were weak. Because they were strong. Strong enough to be quiet. Strong enough to listen. Strong enough to wait. The galaxy was still shaken. Not by noise. By silence. By the quiet world that had taught them that screaming was not the only way. That listening was power. That silence was strength. And the galaxy would never be the same. Because the humans had shown them that the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. And the galaxy, the great and powerful galaxy, was just beginning to understand. Forever. The alien scouts sent their message. It was standard. They had sent it 100 times before. To 100 worlds. It contained threats. Demands. Warnings. You are being contacted by the KRYLL Empire. You will identify yourselves. You will state your resources. You will submit to inspection. Failure to comply will result in destruction. The message was loud. Aggressive. Terrifying. The aliens expected the humans to respond with fear. With panic. With noise. That was what every species did. They screamed. They begged. They pleaded. They offered anything to avoid destruction. The humans did not respond. Silence. The alien commander waited. He was impatient. He was confused. He had never encountered a species that did not respond immediately. Send the message again, he ordered. The message was sent again. Louder. More threatening. You have ignored our first warning. This is your final warning. Respond immediately or face annihilation. Silence. The commander was angry. What is wrong with these creatures? Are they deaf? Are they stupid? Why do they not respond? His officers had no answers. They had never encountered a species that did not scream back. They had never imagined such a thing. Then, after a long pause, a message came. It was not what they expected. It was not a threat. Not a demand. Not a warning. It was a question. Who are you? We have been waiting. Would you like to talk? The commander stared at the screen. He read the message again. And again. He could not believe it. Who are you? He repeated. No one has ever asked us that. They always scream. They always beg. They always plead. They never ask who we are. His officers were equally confused. Perhaps it is a trick, one suggested. Perhaps they are trying to confuse us. The commander shook his head. It is not a trick. It is a question. A simple question. They want to know who we are. They say they have been waiting. They want to talk. The officers were silent. They had never been asked who they were. They had never been told that someone was waiting for them. They had never been offered a conversation. The commander sent a response. This is Commander Vex of the KRYLL Empire. We are conquerors. We take what we want. We destroy what we cannot take. Who are you? The reply came quickly. We are humans. We are not conquerors. We are not destroyers. We are learners. We are listeners. We are questioners. We have been waiting for someone to talk to. Would you like to share a meal? The commander was stunned. Share a meal? No one had ever offered to share a meal. They had offered tribute. They had offered slaves. They had offered surrender. Never a meal. You want to share a meal? The commander asked. With us? With conquerors? With destroyers? The human reply was warm. Yes. Everyone eats. Everyone gets hungry. Everyone needs to share. We have bread. It is warm. Would you like some? The commander looked at his crew. They were tired. They had been traveling for months. Their rations were low. Their morale was lower. They had not had fresh food in weeks. He could see it in their eyes. They wanted the bread. They would never admit it, but he could see it. Send one pod, the commander said. One. No tricks. The human reply was simple. No tricks. Just bread. A small pod detached from the human ship. It drifted across the dark space between the two ships. It was not fast. It was not stealthy. It was just a pod full of bread. The KRYLL tracked it into their cargo bay. Soldiers surrounded it, weapons drawn, ready for anything. The pod opened. Inside were loaves of bread. Warm, soft, golden brown. The smell filled the cargo bay. It smelled like home, like something from before the war, from when the KRYLL had farms and fields and families, before they became soldiers, before they forgot how to be anything else. The commander walked to the pod. He picked up a loaf. He broke it open. Steam rose from the soft center. He took a bite. The bread was sweet and rich. It melted on his tongue. He closed his eyes. For a moment, he was not a commander. He was not a conqueror. He was just a creature eating bread. And it was good. He opened his eyes. His crew was watching him, waiting. He took another bite, then another. He finished the whole loaf. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Send a message to the human ship, he said. Tell them thank you. The message was sent. The human reply came quickly. You are welcome. Would you like to talk now? The commander hesitated. Talk? What was there to talk about? He was a conqueror. He did not talk. He demanded. He took. He destroyed. But the bread had been good. The humans had been kind. No one had ever been kind to him before. Yes, the commander said. I would like to talk. The conversation lasted for hours. The humans asked about the KRYLL, about their world, their history, their hopes. The commander had never been asked these things. He had never thought about them. He had only thought about conquest, about victory, about power. The humans listened. They did not judge. They did not mock. They just listened. They asked more questions. What do you fear? What do you love? What do you dream about? The commander had no answers. He had never asked himself these questions. He had never needed to. He had only needed to conquer. But the humans were patient. They waited. They listened. They did not demand. They just offered. I do not know, the commander said finally. I have never thought about it. The human voice was kind. That is okay. You can think about it now. We are here. We will wait. We are not going anywhere. The commander was silent. He had never met anyone like this. Anyone who was willing to wait. Willing to listen. Willing to ask. The humans were not conquerors. They were not destroyers. They were something else. Something new. Something the galaxy had never seen. The first message had been a question. Who are you? The commander had not known how to answer. Now he was beginning to understand. He was not just a conqueror. He was a creature who could feel, who could think, who could change. Who are you? And the commander, for the first time, wanted to know the answer. The gift of a question. And he would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same. Because the first message was not a scream. It was a whisper, a question, an invitation. And the galaxy was just beginning to listen. Forever. The aliens studied the humans. They watched them for months. They analyzed their behavior, their communications, their culture. They expected to find weakness. They found something else. The humans were quiet. Not because they were afraid. Because they had nothing to prove. The Voth scientists were confused. Every species screams its strength, they said. The KRYLL scream conquest. The Xylos scream knowledge. We scream logic. Why do humans not scream? The human diplomat smiled. Because we have nothing to prove. We know who we are. We know what we can do. We do not need to announce it. The Voth were puzzled. But how do others know your strength if you do not announce it? The human shrugged. They will see it when it is needed. Until then, we prefer to listen. The KRYLL generals studied the humans. They watched them interact. They expected to see weakness. They saw patience. The humans did not rush. They did not panic. They did not threaten. They waited. They observed. They listened. The KRYLL general was confused. Why do they not attack? Why do they not demand? Why do they not conquer? The human diplomat smiled. Because we have nothing to conquer. We have enough. We do not need more. We prefer to share. The KRYLL were puzzled. But how do you survive if you do not take what you need? The human shrugged. We grow what we need. We build what we need. We share what we have. We do not need to take. The Xylos scholars studied the humans. They watched them learn. They expected to see ignorance. They saw wisdom. The humans did not shout their knowledge. They did not broadcast their discoveries. They did not demand recognition. They asked questions. They listened to answers. They learned from everyone. The Xylos scholar was confused. Why do they not share their knowledge? Why do they not announce their discoveries? Why do they not demand credit? The human diplomat smiled. Because knowledge is not a trophy. It is a tool. We share it when it is useful. We keep it when it is not. We do not need credit. We need understanding. The Xylos were puzzled. But how do others know you are wise if you do not show your wisdom? The human shrugged. They will see it in our actions, in our patience, in our silence. Wisdom does not need to scream. It whispers. The aliens began to understand. The humans were quiet because they had nothing to prove. They did not need to scream their strength. They did not need to shout their knowledge. They did not need to announce their conquests. They were comfortable in their silence. The Voth scientist spoke. We have spent millennia screaming logic. We thought it made us strong. We were wrong. It made us loud. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is stronger than our noise. The KRYLL general nodded. We have spent millennia screaming conquest. We thought it made us feared. We were wrong. It made us hated. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is more respected than our conquests. The Xylos scholar agreed. We have spent millennia screaming knowledge. We thought it made us wise. We were wrong. It made us arrogant. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is wiser than our knowledge. The aliens realized that human silence was not weakness. It was confidence. It was patience. It was wisdom. The humans did not need to prove themselves because they already knew who they were. They did not need to announce their strength because they trusted it would be seen. They did not need to shout their knowledge because they knew it would be discovered. The human diplomat spoke. We have learned that screaming does not make you strong. It makes you loud. There is a difference. We prefer to listen, to wait, to ask. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to demand. We only want to understand. The aliens were silent. They had never thought of silence as strength. They had never thought of listening as power. They had only ever known noise. The humans had shown them something new. The galaxy began to change. Species that had screamed for millennia began to listen, to wait, to ask. The noise faded. The silence grew. The humans had not screamed. They had not threatened. They had not demanded. They had simply been quiet. And that quiet had changed everything. The Voth stopped screaming logic. They started asking questions. They learned more in 1 year than they had in a century. The KRYLL stopped screaming conquest. They started sharing resources. They made more friends in 1 year than they had in a millennium. The Xylos stopped screaming knowledge. They started listening to others. They gained more wisdom in 1 year than they had in an age. The human difference was not strength. It was not intelligence. It was not technology. It was silence. The confidence to be quiet. The patience to wait. The wisdom to listen. The galaxy had been screaming for so long that it had forgotten how to hear. The humans reminded them. Not with noise. With silence. The first contact happened in silence. Not because the humans were weak. Because they were strong. Strong enough to be quiet. Strong enough to listen. Strong enough to wait. The galaxy was still shaken. Not by noise. By silence. By the quiet world that had taught them that the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. The human diplomat stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was silent. No one screamed. No one demanded. No one threatened. They just listened. You asked why we are quiet, she said. It is because we have nothing to prove. We have faced our own darkness. We have survived our own wars. We have learned that screaming does not make you strong. Listening does. Waiting does. Asking does. That is the human difference. Not noise. Silence. Not fear. Peace. Not war. Conversation. The council was silent. They had never thought of silence as strength. They had never thought of listening as power. The humans had shown them something new. That the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. And the galaxy, forever changed, would never be the same. Because the humans had taught them that silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. Confidence. Patience. wisdom, the human difference. And the galaxy would never forget. Forever. News of the quiet world spread. Not through official channels. Not through military reports or council meetings. Through whispers. Through stories. Through the strange silence that had fallen over Earth. The Vorth heard about it. The KRYLL heard about it. The Xylos heard about it. Other species, too many to name, heard about the world that did not scream. They were curious. They had never encountered a quiet world. They had only ever known noise. War cries. Battle alarms. Desperate pleas. They wanted to see for themselves. They wanted to hear the silence. They wanted to understand. The Vorth sent a message. They expected threats. Demands. Warnings. They received questions. Who are you? What do you hope for? What do you fear? Would you like to share a meal? The Vorth were confused. They had never been asked these things. They had only ever been screamed at. They did not know how to respond. We are the Vorth, they replied. We seek logic. We seek order. We seek understanding. We do not share meals. We share equations. The human reply was warm. Equations are good. But meals are better. Would you like to try? We have bread. It is warm. The Vorth hesitated. They had never shared a meal with anyone. They had only ever shared data. But they were curious. They agreed. The KRYLL sent a message. They expected threats, demands, warnings. They received questions. Who are you? What do you hope for? What do you fear? Would you like to share a meal? The KRYLL were confused. They had never been asked these things. They had only ever been screamed at. They did not know how to respond. We are the KRYLL, they replied. We seek conquest. We seek glory. We seek power. We do not share meals. We take them. The human reply was warm. Taking is one way. Sharing is another. Would you like to try? We have bread. It is warm. The KRYLL hesitated. They had never shared a meal with anyone. They had only ever taken. But they were curious. They agreed. The Xylos sent a message. They expected threats, demands, warnings. They received questions. Who are you? What do you hope for? What do you fear? Would you like to share a meal? The Xylos were confused. They had never been asked these things. They had only ever been screamed at. They did not know how to respond. We are the Xylos, they replied. We seek knowledge. We seek wisdom. We seek truth. We do not share meals. We share facts. The human reply was warm. Facts are good, but meals are better. Would you like to try? We have bread. It is warm. The Xylos hesitated. They had never shared a meal with anyone. They had only ever shared data. But they were curious. They agreed. The meals were simple. Bread, honey butter, water. The humans did not ask for anything in return. They did not demand tribute. They did not issue threats. They just shared. They asked questions. They listened to answers. They learned. The Vorth learned that logic was not enough. That order was not everything. That understanding required more than equations. It required connection. The humans taught them that, not with words, with bread, with questions, with silence. The KRYLL learned that conquest was not the only way. That glory was not the only goal. That power was not the only measure. The humans taught them that, not with weapons, with bread, with questions, with silence. The Xylos learned that knowledge was not the highest good. That wisdom was not the only truth. That facts were not the only reality. The humans taught them that, not with lectures, with bread, with questions, with silence. Word spread. Other species sent their own messages. They expected silence. They received questions. Who are you? What do you hope for? What do you fear? Would you like to share a meal? The aliens were confused. They had never been asked these things. They had only ever been screamed at. They began to lower their defenses, to open their minds, to listen. The galaxy began to quiet down. Wars stopped. Conflicts paused. Species that once screamed now whispered. They had learned that screaming did not make them strong. It made them loud. The humans had shown them another way. A better way. A quieter way. The Vorth stopped shouting logic. They started listening to stories. They learned more from a single meal than from 1,000 equations. The KRYLL stopped shouting conquest. They started sharing resources. They made more friends in a single meal than in 1,000 battles. The Xylos stopped shouting knowledge. They started asking questions. They gained more wisdom in a single meal than in 1,000 years of study. The Galactic Council met. The chamber was quiet. No one screamed. No one demanded. No one threatened. They just listened. The human ambassador stood before them. Her name was Myra. The same Myra who had baked the first bread. Her hair was gray now. Her face was wrinkled. But her eyes were still kind. "You asked why we are quiet," Myra said. "It is because we have nothing to prove. We have faced our own darkness. We have survived our own wars. We have learned that screaming does not make you strong. Listening does. Waiting does. Asking does. That is the human way. Not noise. Silence. Not fear. Peace. Not war. Conversation." The council was silent. They had never thought of silence as strength. They had never thought of listening as power. The humans had shown them something new. That the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. The galaxy continued to change. Wars ended. Alliances formed. Species that had been enemies for millennia became friends. Not because of treaties. Because of bread. Because of questions. Because of silence. The first contact happened in silence. Not because the humans were weak. Because they were strong. Strong enough to be quiet. Strong enough to listen. Strong enough to wait. The galaxy was still shaken. Not by noise. By silence. By the quiet world that had taught them that the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. The galactic shift was not sudden. The silence grew. And the galaxy, forever changed, would never be the same. Because the humans had taught them that silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. Confidence. Patience. Wisdom. The human way. The only way that worked. And the galaxy would never forget. Forever. Because the quiet world had changed everything. Not with screams. With whispers. With questions. With bread. With love. The galactic shift was real. And the galaxy would never be the same. Forever. The Galactic Council was silent. They had gathered from across the galaxy. The Voth. The KRYLL. The Xylos. All of them. They had come to hear the human explanation. Why was Earth quiet? Why did they not scream like everyone else? The council chamber was full, but no one spoke. They were waiting. Listening. Dr. Maya Chen stood before the council. She was a human diplomat. Her hair was gray. Her face was lined. Her eyes were kind. She had been part of the first contact. She had baked the first bread. She had asked the first question. Now she would give the answer. "You asked why we are quiet," Maya said. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. Everyone heard it. Everyone listened. "It is because we have nothing to prove. We have faced our own darkness. We have survived our own wars. We have learned that screaming does not make you strong. Listening does. Waiting does. Asking questions does." The council was silent. They had never thought of silence as strength. They had never thought of listening as power. They had only ever known noise. "We did not scream because we were not afraid," Maya continued. "We were not afraid because we had already faced our fears. We had faced the darkness inside ourselves. We had faced the evil that humans can do. We had faced the monsters that live in our own hearts. And we survived." The Voth leader spoke. His voice was quiet. "How did you survive? How did you face your own darkness?" Maya smiled. "We talked. We listened. We asked questions. We did not scream at each other. We did not fight. We did not destroy. We talked. We shared our fears, our hopes, our dreams. We learned that the darkness inside us was not evil. It was fear, loneliness, hunger, and we learned that those things could be healed. By talking, by listening, by asking." The KRYLL leader spoke. His voice was hard. "You are saying that talking defeated your darkness? That words were enough?" Maya nodded. Words were the beginning. Then came bread. Then came medicine. Then came songs. Then came stories. Then came love. The darkness did not disappear overnight. It took centuries. But we never stopped talking. Never stopped listening. Never stopped asking. And eventually, the darkness began to lighten. The fear began to fade. The hunger began to be fed. The Xylos leader spoke. Her voice was soft. "You are saying that love defeated your darkness. That kindness was stronger than evil." Maya nodded again. "Yes, that is exactly what we are saying. Love is stronger than fear. Kindness is stronger than hate. Trust is stronger than despair. We have proven it. Not with weapons. With bread. With medicine. with songs, with stories, with love. The council was silent. They had never thought of love as strength. They had never thought of kindness as power. They had only ever known fear, hate, war. The KRYLL leader spoke. We have spent millennia screaming. We thought it made us strong. We were wrong. It made us loud. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is stronger than our noise. The Vorth leader nodded. We have spent millennia screaming logic. We thought it made us wise. We were wrong. It made us arrogant. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is wiser than our logic. The Xylo's leader agreed. We have spent millennia screaming knowledge. We thought it made us smart. We were wrong. It made us closed. The humans are quiet, and their quiet is smarter than our knowledge. Maya looked at the council. Her eyes were kind. You asked why we are quiet. It is because we have nothing to prove. We do not need to scream our strength. We do not need to shout our knowledge. We do not need to announce our conquests. We are comfortable in our silence. We listen more than we speak. We observe more than we act. We wait more than we rush. That is the human way. Not noise. Silence. Not fear. Peace. Not war. Conversation. The council was silent. They had never thought of silence as strength. They had never thought of listening as power. The humans had shown them something new. That the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. The Vorth leader spoke. We have learned something today. We do not fully understand it, but we are grateful. The humans have shown us a better way. Not the way of noise. The way of silence. The KRYLL leader nodded. We have spent our lives screaming. We have conquered worlds. We have destroyed civilizations. We have never found peace. The humans have found peace. Not through conquest. Through silence. The Xylo's leader agreed. We have spent our lives seeking knowledge. We have collected facts. We have stored data. We have never found wisdom. The humans have found wisdom. Not through knowledge. Through silence. The council applauded. It was a soft applause. A hesitant applause. An applause that was still learning. The galaxy was changing. The old ways were dying. The new ways were being born. The human way. The way of silence. The story ends on Earth. A small town. A small house. A small garden. Dr. Maya Chen sits on her porch. She looks at the stars. The galaxy is quieter now. Not completely silent, but quieter. Wars have stopped. Conflicts have paused. Species that once screamed now whisper. Maya smiles. She picks up a loaf of bread. It is warm. She breaks it in half. She offers it to the stars. Would you like to share? She asks. The stars do not answer, but they seem brighter, softer, kinder. The first contact happened in silence. Not because the humans were weak. Because they were strong. Strong enough to be quiet. Strong enough to listen. Strong enough to wait. The galaxy was still shaken. Not by noise. By silence. The quietest is. The shocking ending was not a surprise to the humans. They had always known. Silence is strength. Listening is power. Waiting is wisdom. The galaxy had been screaming for so long that it had forgotten how to hear. The humans reminded them. Not with noise. With silence. And the galaxy, forever changed, would never be the same. Because the quiet world had taught them that the loudest species is not the strongest. The quietest is. And the galaxy would never forget. Forever. Because the first contact happened in silence. And that silence had changed everything. The only way that worked. Silence. Peace. Conversation. Love. The galaxy was learning. Slowly. Quietly. Gently. The humans were teaching. Not with words. With bread. With silence. With love. And the galaxy would never be the same. Forever.